Hello everyone and welcome to Adelaide for the GPVWC ITC. We've got 3 races coming up for you today. Here is race 1. So we've got Rudy Van Buren on pole, followed by Niels Brugman, David Franchik, Chris Shepherd, Chris Butcher, Adam Taylor, James Wilson, Stein Fidder, Ben Willis, Lewis McGlade, Sherwin van der Sloot, Matthew Allington, Tobias Olsen, Adrian Holm, Adam Hodgkinson, Matt Richards, Philip Morby, Wesley Stefano, Eric Stanford, Jeffrey Fournier, Elise Skinner, Fabian Rudet, Matt Klipp, Tristan Potters and David Feidock. Now you'll notice that Elise Skinner was in the pit lane. He will be starting the race from the pit lane, and that's a tactical decision according to Elise himself. Apparently he believes that there's going to be a considerable amount of carnage at the start of this race, and therefore he's going to start the race from the pit lane. Anyway, championship leader Rudy Van Buren is starting from pole position. He could mathematically wrap up the championship today, although he would need to win all 3 races with Matt Richards only scoring 1 point, I believe. So realistically it's going to go to Portland, but mathematically he could wrap up the championship today, so let's see what happens. I've seen stranger things happening in the GPVWC ITC. 5 lights, watch for them to go out. Go! Off we go for the first race. Rudy Van Buren gets a bad start, actually slower than Niels Brugman, and Brugman's going to go to the inside of turn 1. And indeed, he's passed him before the corner. The contact behind. Chris Butcher is over. Up and over, and it goes for an absolute tumble. There's carnage in the mid-pack. Bumpers go flying. Oh dear, there's another car upside down. That's Wesley Stefano. Matt Klipp is off in the back. So is Eric Stanford. Fabian Ruder is off. Elise Skinner gets involved. I believe Matt Richards was involved. So second place in the championship, Matt Richards also got involved there. It looked to me as if the 2 Chris's, Shepherd and Butcher, just kind of came together in turn 1. Butcher probably tried to go to the inside thinking he had more space than he did. Shepherd probably thought that Butcher had more space than he did. And I'm sure we'll see a replay of that soon. One of the Idols GP cars is missing their front wing. Their bumper rather, I think. It's Stein Fidder. So Fidder also involved in that in the mid-pack. Here is the field streaming through turn 8. Arguably the most dangerous corner on the track, and indeed Matt Richards was involved because he has dropped right back down the order. He's and a big slide and into the wall for Elise Skinner. So Skinner, who was running ahead of Chris Butcher going into that corner, slides into the wall. I don't think that he was hampered by that in terms of, no, he's got away with it, so he hasn't actually crashed it there. But surely that can't be good for his suspension. Anyway, I believe we're about to see a replay of the start carnage. Oh no, this is just Elise going for his hit into the wall. Does he have suspension damage? Not that I can see, but you never know. Off we go for the start. This is a replay of the start, of course, on board with Rudy Van Buren, who gets a poor start compared to Niels Brugman. Now watch Chris Butcher. Yeah, just kind of clonks Chris Shepherd, goes over the tyre barrier, and that tyre barrier pitches him into the roll that then involves several other cars. And I'm afraid that was a big mess. There you see it from on board the car behind. This is one of the Aurora Motorsports cars that goes for a wheelie. Lucky not to lose his rear wing there. Now this will this be David Feidock or David Franchik? It's one of the 2. Oh no, it's Wesley Stefano who also ended up upside down in his BMW. Just got landed on by another flying BMW and then went for a roll. Here's what Elise saw. So Elise, of course, started from the pits to avoid the carnage, tagged one of these slower cars, and now he's going to get clobbered by Matt Richards, who possibly was a bit too eager to get going. We're actually seeing it from on board with Matt Richards now. Richard. Oh no. Oh yeah, that is Matt Richards. He just had nowhere to go there. I mean, though Chris Butcher was spun right into his path. But watch this next bit. As he gets going, of course he can't see Elise from there, and he probably did leave a car's width. But Elise, of course, was naturally going to drift towards the outside of the track. So, to be honest, Matt Richards probably tried to get going a bit too soon. Elise, you could argue, didn't back off enough. I don't know. I'm going to leave that up to the stewards. Again, I'm not going to judge this. Morby and Fournier side by side for 15th position. This is the last points paying position. And Allington and Van der Sloot are also side by side. Fournier is now going to get the switch back and go to the inside of Van der Sloot. Van der Sloot goes out wide. Wow, bumps out over the curb. He's now dropped behind his teammate Philip Morby and out of the points. Now, I'm afraid to say he was in the points, but he's lost 2 positions now. Elise Skinner has pitted after his various incidents and accidents. So it's Niels Brugman leading us round now from Rudy Van Buren. Chris Shepherd is 3rd. David Feidock will be 4th, and 5th will be Adam Taylor. So that is the order after lap 2. And we're going to see another replay here. This is Fabian Rüder going for a roll. That's our 3rd roll of the weekend, if you count the 2 at the start. Bounced off the wall with his roof. And oh yeah, I'm afraid once that went up, there was no saving that. He actually reacted to it rather quickly there, but I'm afraid that there was, yeah, just slightly too late, and over went Fabian Rüder and possibly out of this race. Bit of a lock up there from one of the 2 Hondas in the lead. I think that might have been Niels Brugman locking up there. Of course, tyre wear isn't usually something you associate with touring cars, but it wouldn't be the first time that it's been said in the GPVWC ITC. So, of course, while a singular lockup isn't disastrous, they do need to be careful of how many times they're doing it. I mean, you can get flat spots pretty quickly. I remember in my first ITC race, I got a flat spot on something like lap 3, despite the fact I'd only had 1 or 2 lockups. And flat spots can really hamper the performance of the car. They can actually cause you to lock up more often, as Elise Skinner gets out of the way after his drive-through. Good driving from him to get out the... Whoa! Oh my goodness! Huge crash in the background. That's Sherwin van der Sloot. Matt Klipp is involved. He goes round, and who's that? Is that Matt Richards? Or is it Tobias Olsen? Whoa! As van der Sloot almost pings straight back into the path of David Franchik there. He's missing a wheel, and indeed he goes into the wall again and almost gets another car unnecessarily involved. Eric Stanford is off, and that's in a completely different place. So Stanford's had an unrelated incident. We're going to see that now. Big lockup. Off he goes and into the wall. Probably should have bailed out of that to the left there. You see there is a runoff area that he could have used to avoid the wall. Here we're going to see the incident. Whoa! It's Tobias Olsen. I can see that by the number. He's also been for a roll. Who just clips the inside wall, and then there's nothing he can do after that. Just tips it over. Whoa! Van der Sloot. That is a huge impact. And then Klipp and Franchik. Well, actually, Franchik avoided it all. It did very well to do so. Here we are on board with Tobias Olsen as he just clips the inside wall, misjudged it slightly. Over he goes. That's our 4th roll of the weekend. He lands on his wheels and I believe actually continues in the race, luckily. But we're about to see Matt Klipp and Sherwin van der Sloot slide into view, I expect. There's Klipp in his rearview mirror. Here we are on board with Stein Fidder. There you see it's already happened up ahead. You can just see the flipping and flying Tobias Olsen. Whoa, that's what happened to van der Sloot. It was exactly the same thing. He was in the slipstream of his teammate and he just was too eager to turn in. Now he clips, so he clipped the wall on the left side of the track, and that's what bounced him back into Franchik. To be honest, he really should have been driving more carefully than that, because he was missing a wheel. Maybe he didn't know or something. As we're on board with Matt Klipp now, who actually, the spin was caused by the unsettlement of the car, caused by hitting the flying tyre. So very unfortunate for Matt Klipp, just getting involved in someone else's incident there, and David Franchik did a very good job of avoiding getting involved himself. Lost a bit of time from it, but did a very good job not to completely spin the car round. And unfortunately, we've had a huge crash again. So three massive crashes if you count Fabian Rüder's, which also was a rather large one. We've had 5 cars upside down so far this race. This has been carnage. I'm not going to hide the fact that this has been absolute carnage. Anyway, here we see a few cars recovering from their opening instance. Matt Clip's been involved in 2. Van der Sloot somehow is actually continuing on 3 wheels, trying to get it back to the pits. I don't know if he thinks that they can replace a wheel or... Oh, and he's going into the wall again. Van der Sloot really does need to be driving more carefully without a wheel. Luckily, Tobias Olsen is able to get past him without any... Oh, as Elise Skinner's been off. Yeah, I expect he actually deliberately went off there because he knows he's a lap down. So that was just getting out of the way of the other cars. Probably just tried to go wide rather than off. And he wouldn't have wanted to have to reverse back on again. But he got out of the way of the leaders, so at least he was sporting. The gap for the lead has been maintained exactly how it has been since pretty much the start of the race. Van Buren has been there or thereabouts for the entire time. Hasn't yet had an opportunity to get past or even have a look at Niels Brugman in the lead of the race from what we've seen, but he'll certainly not want it to stay that way. Van Buren, of course, is hunting for his championship this weekend. Oh, actually clips the wall on the exit of turn 5 there. Just misjudges the corner slightly and clips the wall. Hopefully there won't be any suspension damage from that. He did hit it side on, so I don't think there will be. But he needs to be careful with that, of course, because any contact can cause damage. So you do need to be careful with that, of course. And if you get into the habit of driving the lines like that, then well, you really shouldn't, because who knows how serious it will be next time. But Rudy Van Buren is a very experienced and very, very good driver who very rarely makes mistakes, so I'm sure he'll know all of this already. And I don't want to put the commentator's curse on him, but that is possibly going to be the only mistake he makes today, as Niels Brugman locks up again. He's actually been locking up quite a lot so far this race, just put under pressure possibly. Here's Elise Skinner. Oh, he's going over too, clips the curb, goes over. Oh dear, and he's gone right over the barrier. Luckily for those spectators, they're not real, of course. That's the beauty of sim racing. If you run someone over, it really doesn't matter because they don't exist in the first place. Oh, don't tell me he's going to try and get this going again. He is. So he's going to reverse the car to try to get it through a gap in the fence. Is he going to succeed? Oh, clips the wall. And he's stopped. And he's given up. So does all that work to get it back through. You can see his suspension was already very damaged before he even turned in. It was hanging very badly to one direction. And he just misjudged the corner. And of course the new kind of camber. Whoa! Very, very glitchy roll there from Wesley Stefano, who just clips a curb there, and then seems to just float around the corner before flipping in both directions. I don't know how that actually looked from on board him, as, oh dear, that's Steinfeder. Both of the IDOS Motorsport cars in trouble, and there's a huge crash. Adam Hodgkinson and Ben Willis absolutely collect him there. Here it is on board with Fidder, who just overcooks it going into the corner, loses his bonnet, and then he just gets walloped. Unfortunately, he's missing one of his rear wheels, so that's going to be the end of the day for Steinfeder. Oh my goodness, that's a try not to blink challenge and a half from Adam Hodgkinson there, and Ben Willis is going to be the next view we see. Oh gosh, he would have had no time to react to that at all. Neither of them would have done. Eric Stanford is going to go for a spin. He does indeed. Just gets it on the curb on the outside, clips the wall with the rear, but that won't do any damage. Wow, these few laps have been carnage, as Lewis McGlade goes to the inside of, Adam Taylor, and goes off. Just misjudged his braking, and off he goes. So I'm afraid for Adam Taylor there, or no, for Lewis McGlade there rather, just misjudged that, as you can see, and actually lost far more positions than he would have gained. So shot himself in the foot a bit there, did Lewis McGlade. Of course, Lewis McGlade got his first win of the series last week, and there you see it on board with Adam Taylor as McGlade goes shooting across the screen and straight into the top 5 and straight out again. Adrian Holm rather, is going for a move on James Wilson. They actually touch wheels there. This is for 6th position. Eric Stanford has just been lapped there. Wilson is going to have the inside line. Indeed, he keeps 6th position. So It is Wilson 6th at the moment, and Holm 7th. But Holm's going to try and force the issue to the inside into turn 4. Gets right up on the curb, and Lewis McGlade's going to get involved in there as well. Oh, it almost looked like they were going to go 3 wide down into turn 5, but Lewis McGlade has managed to go around the outside of his teammate. I wonder if his teammate just kind of backed off there to basically say, you have a go at Adrian, and see what you can do, and then I'll follow you through if you force the issue. But for now, Adrian Holm is in 6th position. Here is Wilson going slightly wide through turn 8. Oh, Stanford, I believe, touched the wall in the background. He, of course, is a lap down. As I was saying just now, Lewis McGlade actually got his first win of the series last round rather, at the Le Mans Bugatti circuit in race 1. Was fighting with Chris Shepherd in that one and brought it home for his first win of the series, although running 7th at the moment, so not quite the ideal result that he would have been hoping for after last round. It might just be that the Le Mans Bugatti circuit is more suited to his particular driving style and abilities, but the top 3 I believe has closed up slightly. The top 2, of course, they've been exactly the same for pretty much the entire race, but I believe that Chris Shepherd looks a bit closer than last time we saw him. Not close enough yet for Van Buren or Brugman to be worried yet, but we'll see as Van Buren gets back into the slipstream of Brugman, as he's done every lap, heading down towards turn 9. It's very difficult and almost silly, really, to try and force a move to the inside of turn 8, which is by far the fastest and most dangerous corner on the track. So turn 9 tends to be the place where the drivers are trying to outbrake the others, but just can't seem to get quite close enough yet. These cars do slipstream, not as well as you'll see in single seaters like in the career ladder rounds, the Formula Challenge, Super Cup and Super League. They don't slipstream as well as those, but they do slipstream to an extent, as you see Tristan Potters emerging from the pits. So Potters, I believe, has had some form of accident at some point in the race, and he's just emerging from the pits. Now you're going to see what I was talking about in terms of what Van Buren will be wanting to do from Matt Clip there to the outside of Ben Willis, and actually goes right round the outside of him there. That's a really good move from Matt Clip, who just outbraked Ben Willis down into turn 9 and got the position. I think that was for either 15th or 16th position. It was somewhere around that place in the order. As you see, Van Buren again in the slipstream with Brugman. Looks slightly closer than he was last lap, but he's been this close before and hasn't been able to force a move. So we'll see what he can do this time. He's not going to be close enough. So Brugman still leads the race for now. To be honest, you have to give it to Rudy Van Buren. He hasn't tried to force any sort of mad manoeuvre to the inside or the outside of Brugman that's likely to take them both out of the race yet. We've seen that from other drivers in this series so far, unfortunately, too many times. And to be honest, if I was in Van Buren's situation here, I would probably have already gone for a move, and I would most likely have taken us both off. So it's very difficult to judge when you can go for a move and when you can't. But Van Buren is a sensible driver. He knows when he can't. So he hasn't so far. Here you see Matt Richards recovering from his involvement in the first corner incident, and Philip Morby, who possibly also got involved there. These two are running closely on track. Of course, Morby's teammate Sherwin van der Sloot is already out after his huge accident earlier on in the race. Van Buren is actually really close to to Niels Brugman now. He's a lot closer than he was last lap. And I think he might try to force the issue here down into turn 9. He's going to go to the inside. He locks up, but he's going to have it to the inside, is he? Is he going to be able to get the run out of the corner? Yes, indeed he does. So we have a new race leader. We're going to see it on board with him now as he darts to the inside, leaves it to the last moment just to show, or just to try and convince Brugman that he's not going to go through that time, but he does, and through he went. Now here's what Niels Brugman would have seen. He wouldn't have known that that Van Buren was coming through until it was too late, and of course you can't just turn in and shut the door. Well done to him for not doing that, and Van Buren very fairly leads the race. Chris Shepherd in that has been allowed to catch right up to these two as well. So Shepherd using advantage of the two battling ahead of him as Brugman locks up again. Sometimes it's actually difficult to work out when you're locking up, so I'm wondering how many of these lockups Niels Brugman has actually noticed so far. He would have noticed a lot of them, of course. Racing drivers feel a lot. But you don't really get that. Whoa, as Adrian Holm goes up onto two wheels and subsequently loses a place to possibly both Aurora Motorsports. Guys, he's going to make contact with Wilson. James Wilson and Adrian Holm make contact around the final corner. Holmes actually got slight suspension damage anyway. For my money, let's just see a replay before I judge that. Yeah, to be honest, Holm probably should have lifted off at that point. He was obviously off the racing line. Wilson had the racing line, so he probably should have lifted off and allowed Wilson to go through. Wilson was enough alongside him, and from what I can see there, that was Adrian Holmes' responsibility for the majority of that. So again, I'm not a race steward, so I don't have any say over what decisions are actually made, but I think that Adrian Holm was to blame for that. But anyway, up the front again, we have the top three, now equally spaced, equidistant from each other, possibly about 3/10 apart, I'd estimate. It's about that, so Shepherd will be about 6/10 behind Van Buren, but of course he has to get past Brugman first if he wants to win this race. One step at a time as he gets into the slipstream of Niels Brugman. As I said earlier, these guys don't really slipstream that well, but you can get a bit off the car in front of you. Whoa, as Brugman gets very, very aggressive over the inside curb at turn 1. Bounces the car all four wheels off the ground. And here we have Chris Butcher making his way back up the order after his involvement in the opening instant. There's contact with Matthew Allington, and also Matt Richards is going to take advantage of that. Oh no, that's Tobias Olsen, and he's a lap down. Ignore me. So as Olsen just pops to the inside of Matt Allington. Oh, contact! Oh dear. Butcher and Allington, luckily Allington not pitched into a spin, but Olsen's move there was irrelevant in terms of the order, because Olsen is a lap down. He's basically just racing because he can now. But yeah, Butcher trying to force his way back through the order after his opening instant. He's already up to 13th place. He wants 12th. Of course, points in this series go right the way down to 15th position, so any of those positions are vitally important. Here you see Tristan Potters catching Eric Stanford. These two are both a lap down and have both pitted, I believe, but they are still battling on track. Potters is going to try to get into the slipstream of Stanford. Of course, Potters missed the last round due to being busy elsewhere, and Joshua Jones was called in to take that seat. Off goes Stanford. So Stanford appears to have missed his braking, and Potters actually misses his braking slightly too and almost goes off with him. And is Olsen on the same lap? I believe that Olsen is on the same lap as them actually after his pit stop. So Olsen will be joining that battle very briefly. Olsen, you'd have to say, is probably the quickest driver of those three. As Taylor, oh dear, Taylor locks up in 5th position and gets clobbered in the rear by Lewis McGlade, who doesn't quite judge it right, and McGlade's going to have the outside, which will turn into the inside, and Lewis McGlade takes 5th position. There was contact in that, which means that I suppose the stewards could investigate it. To be honest, I don't think they should. I don't think that any time was actually lost to either of them in that. We're just seeing a replay of that now. Yes, indeed. I think the result would have just been exactly the same anyway. Taylor was going slowly out of the corner. McGlade was going through anyway, just slightly clipped him. In fact, he clipped him as far back as turn 3 as well there. And then Taylor locked up. Yeah, to be honest, with these games' physics, I'd actually be surprised if any contact was technically registered and if any momentum was lost at all. I'm not entirely sure about that, but it really didn't look serious in the slightest. Anyway, so Taylor is right back into McGlade's slipstream now, and of course with the momentum from the moves that have just happened, he might be able to locks up slightly and doesn't quite make the move down into turn 9. So he'll be attempting that on another occasion as two cars get very squirrely over the curb there, as it's so easy to do. That was Matt Allington and Chris Butcher there. Butcher, of course, won race 3 last time out. Whoa, as Allington goes into the wall! Allington into the wall on the outside of turn 8. All 4 wheels are still in connected to the car. I don't know if they're pointing in the right direction as Stamford misses his braking again. And possibly allows Tristan Potter's through. Oh, he clipped the wall. So he clipped the wall on the entry to the corner, which pitched him into the next wall, and then it just sucked him in. And he was bouncing across the wall all the way through that corner. And I'm afraid that will probably do quite a lot of suspension damage to Matthew Allington's car. He probably has the suspension or the steering hanging quite badly to one direction now. Of course, we'll have to see how badly it is actually hanging to that direction, because you can get it to lesser extents. But whatever the case, very unfortunate for Matthew Allington, and he has lost at least one place. I saw Chris Butcher going through. I don't know if anyone else has gone through later on in the lap. The 2 cars running behind him were a lap down. They were Eric Stanford and Tristan Potters. They see Jeffrey Fournier running 7th. 7th now. He was quite a long way down the order earlier in this race, so this has been a good drive from Jeffrey Fournier there. There is Rudy Van Buren. He's really built out a bit of a lead from Niels Brugman now. That's about as big a lead as you can get in the GPVWC ITC as Brugman locks up. We've seen him locking up for pretty much the entire race, actually. Maybe he's not running quite the brake setting that he'd be optimally pleased with. Who knows what kind of performance we'd see from him if he was. But whatever the case, Niels Brugman locking up quite a lot, and I expect his tyres will probably be an issue towards the end of the race. He's probably got quite a few flat spots on those tyres by now, and that will be causing quite a few vibrations within the car. However, it'll all be too late for Chris Shepherd, because this is the final lap of the race as we head through the final sector of the course. Rudy Van Buren is leading them round. He's driven an absolutely faultless race, got passed by Niels Brugman off the line, but after that he chased him down, overtook him into turn 9 with a very good and clean move, and he is exiting the final corner to win race 1 here at Adelaide. There he goes. 2nd is Niels Brugman, 3rd is Chris Shepherd, 4th will be a very quiet race from David Franchik, and I believe that I got the two Zederick Racing Fords muddled up earlier in the race. Fidok would have been the one involved in the incident on lap 3. Lewis McGlade is going to finish 5th. 6th is going to be Adam Taylor. 7th will be James Wilson. 8th will be Jeffrey Fournier. 9th is going to be Matt Richards after his incident earlier on in the race. That means the championship will be kept alive until Portland. Philip Morby is 10th. 11th is going to be David Fidok, who I was calling David Franchik for the entire race. Sorry about that. 12th is going to be Chris Butcher, despite a multiple roll earlier in this race on after the first corner of the race. Who knows what he could have done otherwise. There is Matt Allington, Matt Clip, and I believe that Ben Willis is going to be the final point scorer in 15th position. So Ben Willis rounding the final corner of the race to be the final point scorer. There he goes across the line now. And 16th and just outside of the points was Wesley Stefano, who also had a roll earlier on in the race. Out of the race was Tobias Olsen. Eric Stanford did finish, but a lap down. Then it was... Oh no, Olsen would have finished, but never mind. Then it was Tristan Potters, Adrian Holm, Adam Hodgkinson, Stein Fidder, Sherwin van der Sloot, Elise Skinner, and Fabian Ruder. Anyway, into race 2 we go. So, in race 2, they will start in the order that they finished for race 1, which means that Rudy Van Buren will be on pole, followed by Niels Brugman, Chris Shepherd, David Franchik, Lewis McGlade, Adam Taylor, James Wilson, Jeffrey Fournier, Matt Richards, Philip Morby, David Fidock, Chris Butcher, Matthew Allington, Matt Clip, Ben Willis, Wesley Stefano, Tobias Olsen, Eric Stanford, Tristan Potters, Adrian Holm, Adam Hodgkinson, Stein Fidder, Sherwin van der Sloot, Elise Skinner, and finally Fabian Ruder. Anyway, going towards the grid rather. Race 1, of course, was full of quite a lot of carnage actually, especially in the opening 3 laps. So let's hope that they all get through turns 1, 2 and 3, and indeed the entire first lap cleanly. So let's see what they do. Onto the grid we go. Rudy Van Buren lines up in the correct grid slot. Fabian Ruder will bring up the rear of the field. So he is getting into position now. He is in position now. There is Elise Skinner, who actually had a spin on the formation lap. He is in position. The lights are going to come on. Here they go. 5 lights and none. We're underway. Is Van Buren going to get the better start than he did yesterday? Brugman is still on the inside of him. Brugman might lead 2 races in a row. Actually, I think Van Buren is going to just lead into turn 1 there. He does indeed. So Van Buren leads after the first corner. Is everyone going to make it through the first 3 corners safely? It looks as if they are. So very good there. Oh, he spoke too soon. Elise Skinner is into the wall. So Elise Skinner into the wall at the back of the field. Of course, he had a spin on the formation lap, but he's now had a spin in the race as well, just to complete the set. He will hopefully get going at the rear of the field. Yet to finish a race in the ITC, I must say, for Elise Skinner. So he'll be wanting his first finish today. Difficult track to get it at, of course, Adelaide. Lots of vicious walls, especially here at turn 8. Very fast corner. Of course, we saw Elise having an incident here in race 1, as we did several other cars as well. Tobias Olsen and Sherwin van der Sloot both going for big rolls there. I believe Fabian Ruder just tagged the wall there at turn 8, and so did Elise, just slightly. No damage will occur from that though. Van Buren has really romped away from the field here on this opening lap of the race as we exit the final corner for the first time. He is absolutely miles ahead. Here's a replay of Elise's incident as he just clips the inside curb. That unsettles the car and around it goes. There you see it from on board. Doesn't quite react in time. Does tag the wall slightly, but if there's any damage from that, it will be minimal. Stein Fidder has had a collision with Tristan Potters and Adam Hutchinson, and also Eric Stanford getting involved as well there. Fidder's lost his front bumper. That would be a minor subtraction of downforce. Just sends Tristan Potters here scattering into Hodgkinson and Stanford. But it does look like they all got away alright. The Ford has been nicknamed... Actually, it hasn't been nicknamed, but it's been renowned for a very flimsy bumper. The front bumper just seems to part company at any given moment, especially with the IDOS Motorsport team, for some reason. And there is Stein Fidder. Oh, Van der Sloot's had a spin or something. Oh, Elise Skinner's gone over at the back. Elise Skinner's had a roll in at the back just as he did in race 1, and Van der Sloot spun it over the curb. So possibly just getting the power down too quickly as he went over onto the grass on the curb. He went round. Now watch Elise Skinner. Over he goes. It's exactly the same as he did in race 1. He's also lost his bumper, which he didn't do at turn 3, so I don't know where that's happened. But there you see it from on board Elise Skinner. There's just no correcting that. Really probably should have learnt from his mistake in race 1, but oh dear, as Eric Stanford gets a bit of a tag. Oh my goodness. Got a bit of a tag from Philip Morby, who very sportingly waits for him and then gives up waiting for him when he sees, oh, he's gone into the wall. And there you see what happened to Elise Skinner's front bumper. Stanford reverses out of the wall slightly and into Elise Skinner. In Stanford's defence, Skinner was driving a much tighter line round the corner than Stanford would have been expecting. To be honest, Stanford probably expected to have more room than that. And I think Elise probably could have done more to avoid it, but whatever the case, Stanford possibly just being a bit eager out of the wall. Into the wall goes Philip Morby. So Morby has had some kind of, just slightly misjudges the wall on the outside, goes for a bit of a spin, does very, very well to correct it though. Contact. Oh dear, Matthew Allington goes into the wall. Here we see a replay of what happened. Just tags the wall on the outside, bounces back into the path of Chris Butcher and turns across his nose. Unfortunately, Butcher just the innocent victim there and getting caught up in someone else's incident as Sherwin van der Sloot goes for another spin and into the wall this time. So van der Sloot hits the wall. He's just bounced over the inside curb at turn 2. He has indeed. And around it went. So Sherwin van der Sloot, I'm afraid, having another incident. I don't know whether the car is still in the race or not, but whatever the case, Sherwin van der Sloot has been for a bit of a trip into the wall down at turn 2. Now watch Chris Shepherd and Niels Brugman, because Shepherd definitely appears to be closing up on Brugman now for second place here. Brugman was a bit further away after lap 1, and of course with Rudy Van Buren romping clear, the battle for second is definitely now where you want to look. Shepherd was definitely closing in on Niels Brugman at some points in the last race. So, as Stein Fidder goes a bit wide there at the final corner, possibly allowing Fabian Ruder to have a go at him. Not there. Or was that Tristan Potters? It was one of the Rowan GP cars. As Wesley Stefano, gets clobbered by Adam Hodgkinson. Hodgkinson into the wall on the inside. It looked to me as if Hodgkinson got a better run. Yeah, we're going to see a replay. So Hodgkinson gets a better run out of the corners. Stefano made a slight mistake, but Hodgkinson clips the inside curb, tips up onto the side of Wesley Stefano's car, and unfortunately Stefano was completely the innocent victim there. Actually did very well not to turn into the corner normally. He saw Hodgkinson in his mirror, and I'm afraid Hodgkinson just clobbered both of them as Elise Skinner's gone over again 3 times over and lands in the tyre wall. That's impressive. So Elise Skinner has had a trip into the tyre wall. Indeed he has, and I believe that will be Elise's race over. Oh, he's glitching. I think he's trying to glitch his way out actually. Oh, he might do it, you know. Indeed he does. So Elise Skinner manages to glitch his way out of the wall on the exit turn 9. Now he's going to wait for the rest of the field to go past. That was the 8th roll of the weekend so far, as he just waits for the rest of the field to go past. And I believe that by the engine noise we've had some kind of spin or roll or something. Oh, and off has gone, is that Chris Butcher or Adrian Holmes? Someone's gone right up under 2 wheels and has had to correct it by going into the wall on the outside. I believe it was Adrian Holm actually from where he was running in the order. So Holm has had a bit of an... Oh, Elise Skinner going off again. He's going to meet the other wall. He does indeed. We're going to see a replay of that from on board Elise's car. Just gets out and over the curb and into the wall he goes. Possibly just trying to see how much suspension damage he has and just misjudging it slightly. Watch Chris Shepherd going to the inside of turn 9. Niels Brugman to the outside, runs out over the curb, and Chris Shepherd is up to second position rather. He's up from third position. as he heads on replay to the inside of Niels Brugman. Came from much further back than Van Buren did in race 1. Oh, I tell you what though, it was pulled under yellows. At least Skinner was on the outside there. There were yellow lights definitely flashing, and I don't know whether that will be allowed by the stewards. I don't exactly know what kind of yellow flag rules we stick to in this series. Because I heard from someone when I was doing my my Le Mans Bugatti outing last round that that we're not so strict about yellow flag rules here in the GPVWC, but I don't know if that just means in qualifying, on qualifying laps rather, or in the race as well, because there was definitely a yellow light flashing there. So I don't know whether that will be allowed to stick or not. As far as I can see, it will be. If a decision is made, it will be made after the race. But whatever the case, we've had a move for second. So far, from what we know, it is Chris Shepherd running in second position. Anyway, there's Steinfeder, followed by one of the Rowan GP cars. That'll be Fabian Ruder up the field. Potters must have had some kind of incident earlier on, because he was running ahead of Fabian Ruder and he's now behind him. Either that or Ruder just passed him, of course. There's always that. Here you see the battle for second continuing, as Brugman just kind of drifts out and clips the wall slightly with his rear right wheel arch. But okay, ignore that. That was a bit of lag. That wasn't just the cars flying off the road. That was a bit of lag. It wasn't as serious as it looked, thank goodness. But anyway, down through turn 9 this chain heads, or down through turn 8 rather. This is where it'll all kick off if it does. Few cars trying to break the toe there, but none actually trying to go for a move. I believe Chris Shepherd locked up slightly there. But turn 9 is the real overtaking spot of the track, with its heaviest braking zone on the circuit. But no move quite yet from any of this chain. It really is a chain for second place here. I can see second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth and seventh there, with 8th place and 9th place and 10th place all ready and waiting to pounce in case something does go wrong. Fingers crossed that it very much doesn't. But they're there just in case. Whoa! Big jump from Lewis McGlade there through turn 2. Gets up and over the inside curb. There you see it. Did very, very well not to completely lose it there, as he is side by side with Fournier. They make contact. They locked wheels, and McGlade, I'm afraid, has been deposited into the wall on the outside of the circuit. Tucks to the inside to get out of the way of oncoming traffic. We're just going to see that again from onboard McGlade. He tries to turn in, but he's just been collected. Now, Fournier could technically... Well, we'll see it from onboard Fournier here. Yeah, for my money, he just turned in slightly too soon and connected the two cars. I believe that Lewis McGlade would probably have been able to turn in to the corner and get it stopped in time if he hadn't made contact with Fournier. So from what I can see, that was just Fournier being too eager to turn in, and then not willing enough to lift off and stop them from ending up in the wall. So I'm afraid that looked like Fournier's fault to me, as David Franchik is on the inside of Niels Brugman. So Franchik and Brugman side by side for third place. Is Franchik going to get the driver around the outside of the next two left-handers? No, in fact Brugman is going to keep the inside for now. But he's going to get the switch back, and he's going to be side by side with him again on the wrong side of the course, because there's two right-handers coming up now and he was on the left. Now, I'm sure we're going to see a replay of that very, very shortly. We'll soon judge. Indeed, we're about to judge now. Here we go. How this move didn't work. It looks to me just like he came from too far back. He did very well to kind of force his nose to the inside and kind of pry the door open. And he probably thought he had the move done until he turned in for the next corner. But he found, unfortunately for him, that Niels Brugman was there. So the order stays the same there. But look at David Franchik now, as he tucks right into the slipstream of David Hodgkinson. That's Brugman's teammate. Niels Brugman. And he's going to the inside. He's darted out to the inside as we head down into turn 4. Oh, there's contact as Franchik gets 2 wheels up in the air over the inside curb. And now look at Adam Taylor, who is currently running 5th but wants a piece of the podium. And we'll be hoping to demote both of these cars ahead of him. We're just going to see a replay now. Indeed, it just appeared that David Franchik got up onto 2 wheels and couldn't stop himself from going into the back of Niels Brugman. Did very well to actually avoid an incident here. Watch Brugman as he does very well to correct that, actually. Quick reactions. And neither of them lose a place, although they were close to from Adam Taylor behind them. Now this is Tristan Potters, who's going to go off on the outside, and that's a very similar spin to show in Van der Sloot's earlier in the race. Hopefully no one's going to collect him as he reverses right onto the racing line, but no one was coming until Adam Hodgkinson then, but yeah, he's going to get that going. Yeah, this is going to be very similar to show in Van der Sloot's, just the left side of the car overtook the right hand side. Now this is next lap, as he lags out, so Potters is out of the race due to that. Oh, Fabian Ruder's going to have a very similar incident to the one he had in race 1, and Adrian Holm has gone into him. There you see Ruder just clipping that vicious inside curb at turn 5, and here's another try not to blink challenge as Adrian Holm goes right into the side of Fabian Ruder's car. And unfortunately for both of those, that looks like a very serious incident, if not for their cars in terms of their race. Ruder was actually running quite close to the points, I believe, but or at least he was earlier. But whatever the case, those two have had an incident. Also, the Tristan Potters one was interesting because he hadn't stopped. Oh, hold on, as Butcher and Fournier are going side by side down into turn 9, and are they going to? Oh, big roll in the background. That was Tobias Olsen. So Olsen has gone over in the background. We're going to see a replay of that as he goes to the inside of James Wilson, runs up over the curb and over, but actually has the wheels turning even before he lands as he gets going again. Over he goes, but gets going immediately. That's the 9th roller of the day. Here is Wilson's point of view. Came from far too far back in my opinion. Wilson couldn't see he was there, and Wilson was completely the innocent victim in my opinion there. Steinfidder touches the wall a bit going into turn 8. Very nearly touches the wall on the exit anyway. As I was saying before, the exit from the race from Tristan Potters, you could tell it wasn't natural because he hadn't stopped his car before he left. So he hadn't just given up, because on multiplayer like this you have to stop your car before you return to the garage, and the way that he didn't shows that it was an internet issue rather than... Oh dear, as Steinfidder gets right into the back of Lewis McGlade there through the final corner. Here is McGlade's view. Yeah, it looks just to me like Fidder misjudged his braking slightly and went into the rear end. What's Eric Stanford done? He's gone for a roll, so that's our 10th roll of the weekend. So Eric Stanford has just kind of overcooked it into... Actually, everyone else has done a very good job of avoiding them there. He's just overcooked it going into turn 1, clipped the curb at turn 2, and over he's gone. Now this is Fabian Ruder, who's also had a roll. That's the 11th roll of the weekend. Oh, very glitchy one. So possibly, maybe he couldn't see what he was doing properly because of lag or something. I don't know if that was just my connection lagging there. But whatever the case, Fabian Ruder unfortunately has been for another roll. He had a roll in race 1, of course, down at turn 5, and actually had an incident at turn 5 earlier on in this race as well with Adrian Holm. And he's now had a roll down at turn 10. Or is that 11? I never know whether the little kink before that corner counts as a turn or not. I think that was turn 10. 11 rather. Anyway, as we're heading down towards the first chicane again, this is Chris Butcher ahead of Jeffrey Fournier. They're running quite high up in the order, actually, I believe. Yeah, so that's Adam Taylor up ahead. So this will be the battle for 6th position. Yeah, sixth in this race, with Chris Butcher 6th, Jeffrey Fournier 7th, and Matt Richards 8th. Of course, Richards has been having quite a dismal weekend in terms of the championship. Did keep it alive in race 1, as we were all expecting him to, but by consistently finishing behind Rudy Van Buren, he's not doing his championship aspirations any favours. Richards, of course, still yet to get his first win of the championship, so he's only second in the championship on consistency and not actually on wins, and he's actually the only person to still be in contention for the title apart from Rudy Van Buren, as David Feidock takes a look to the inside of Philip Morby. Oh, contact as they exit turn 9. Here we are on board with Morby, as he's just going to see wallop there. Actually, it wasn't quite as big as it looked from outside of the car. Stanford's going over the wall. Oh my goodness, that's a huge one, and he's still rolling, tumbling and rolling through the trees, past the portable toilets. Again, it was just a case of clipping the inside wall. It looked as if he was losing the rear end before he reached the corner, actually. But that's the 12th roller of the weekend. It's been an absolute roll fest here. Actually goes through a couple of cars. That's and a building. That's the good thing about this being a simulator. And he actually tried to get it going again, and he appears to have spun it. To be honest, I don't know where he thought he was going to get back onto the road anyway. Of course, with the ground outside of the road not really being programmed much, because they don't expect cars to get out there, it's very difficult to actually get it back onto the track. And even if he had done, I mean, the suspension damage would have been so bad, because he hadn't only had a big flip, he'd hit the wall as well, and he went over about 5 or 6 times, so that was going to be the end of the day for Eric Stanford anyway, and that's definitely going to be the end of the day now. Now, as we head down into turn 11, as I decided it was, David Franchik is a lot closer to Niels Brugman than he was earlier on in the race, and Adam Taylor is really not that far behind. Neither is the chain behind them. Oh, as we have a big slide from I think that was Philip Morby. Here we see Lewis McGlade to the inside of Matt Allington down into turn 9. McGlade's going to make that stick. Slight contact in the rear from Allington, but that's touring cars. Allington is not going to try and force the issue back into the next braking zone. Actually gets slightly up on 2 wheels over the curb there, as the Toyota is very renowned for doing. Here we see it on board with Allington as McGlade pops up the inside. Ooh, Steinfid has a bit of a kick of oversteer down into turn 11, but gets away with it. A couple of cars out of the race so far. Now here is the front of the order again. Chris Shepherd has really got away in second. Rudy Van Buren, of course, even more so away in the lead of this race. Both of those guys seem unassailable in this race. But someone that is looking rather vulnerable at the moment is Niels Brugman, as Jeffrey Fournier locks up trying to go around the outside of Chris Butcher, and he might come under attack from the other BMW in this chain, which is Matt Richards in 8th. As Butcher has a bit of a kick of oversteer through turn 11 there. So the 3 BMWs are following, not quite 3 Hondas, 2 Hondas and a Ford up ahead of them. And, lock up from Butcher as he goes very, very defensive to the inside. Fournier is going to get the switch back. They're going to be side by side heading down into turn 1 as Taylor threatens to pass Franchik. But the order is going to stay the same for now. Very, very difficult place to overtake down into turn 1. We very, very rarely see anyone actually trying to attempt to move there. Oh, as Franchik's going to keep his nose in. I thought he was just trying to get a bit of overlap around the outside into turn 4 just to show his nose, but he actually kept a bit of overlap and almost went down the inside of turn 5. And that could have been a race deciding moment if it had paid off, but unfortunately for David Franchik it didn't quite. But to be honest, it was looking worrying from Niels Brugman. There was a slight bit of contact there actually. But whatever the case, Brugman is still 3rd for now, just holding on to that podium. Finished 2nd in race 1. It looks like he's going to finish 3rd in race 2 if he stays like this, but he has a very hard judge in David Franchik behind him, who might have a go down into turn 9. He's not close enough. You can see the tyre marks down there from where people have locked up at various points in this race. Very easy place to do that, heavy braking. And of course not really much runoff if you do. There's a bit of runoff and actually quite a lot of runoff to the left, but no one goes there because they want to try to keep the car in contention if they can. And that's where we've seen a lot of the accidents so far this weekend. Anyway, as we head down into turn 1, it's surely getting quite close to the end of the race actually. This will either be the penultimate lap or the final lap. I haven't got a lap chart up in front of me unfortunately, because this isn't live, so I don't have live timing. Oh, big lockup from Chris Shepherd up in second there. I thought he'd had a spin briefly there. That got my heart racing a bit, but whatever the case, Chris Shepherd has recovered from that. And he's still in second. He's not quite running away with it like he was before. He appears to be dropping back into this third place group now. Possibly because he knows we're so close to the end of the race and he doesn't really have much longer to go, so he can afford to lose a bit of time. Or possibly because his tyres are going off slightly. I don't know how much he's been locking up so far this race, because we haven't really seen much of him. Franchik's got a much better run than he had last time, and he's going to pop his nose to the inside. There's contact of Neil Brugman as they go down through turn 9, and is he going to keep the place? Indeed he is. He covers it off into turn 10. There was a slight bit of contact, but David Franchik has made the move for third position and the final spot on the podium. Here you see a replay from on board Franchik. Just touring car muscles his way through. That slight bit of contact, I believe, was fair. Here we see it from Brugman. Yeah, that was fair enough. Bit more contact on the exit, but that's touring car racing. As long as you don't lose too much time from it, then, or actually pick up any damage, then it's fair. Adam Taylor now to the inside of Niels Brugman in the final corner. Although he's going to have the outside for turn 1. This is basically just what I call an overlap to let your opponent know you're there. Although, oh, he's going off. He's going into the gravel, and he's going to lose the place to all 3 of the BMWs here. Now, this move was never going to work. He came from too far back, and he knew that Brugman was going to get the run down into turn 1. And to be honest, he probably should have backed out now and just allowed the cars to go side by side through the corner, because he's just had to run it wide to avoid running over that curb on the inside and flying like we've seen a few cars already doing in this race weekend. And unfortunately for him, because of that slight error, he's gone from challenging for 4th place to dropping back to possibly 8th or 9th position. It'll be 8th position he's dropped back into now. So Adam Taylor, unfortunately for him, losing plenty of positions here. Now we're riding on board with the lead BMW of the chain. This will be... Oh, his name escapes me very suddenly. It's not Matt Richards, is it? Richards is behind this group. Completely... Oh, it's Chris Butcher, of course it is. Sorry about that. It's completely Chris Butcher. Butcher, of course, won race 3 last time out at the Le Mans Bugatti circuit. And he is now up into 5th place in this race. Although I tell you what, this group has really, really closed up now. 3 BMWs are right on terms with Brugman and Franchik now, as I think we might be on the final lap of the race. Either that or it's the penultimate lap of the race. Then again, oh, glitchy Chris Shepherd. Chris Shepherd just teleporting around the place. That's what happens when the game lags a bit. And Fournier went for a bit of a challenge on Chris Butcher, but it looks to me like he's going to lose another place. Here is Rudy Van Buren. He's going to win race 2 of this weekend as he crosses the line then. So Rudy Van Buren won race 1 in dominant fashion, won race 2 in even more dominant fashion. And Rudy Van Buren extends his championship lead. Chris Shepherd finishes 2nd, David Franchik is 3rd, 4th is Adam Hodgkins, and then a big chain of BMWs, followed by Adam Taylor, James Wilson, who is going to be next. It's going to be Tobias Olsen, and he is going to cross the line just ahead of Matt Clipp and David Feiduck. But I tell you what, there was really not much in it there. And here comes Philip Morby, who's running right up the order in Le Mans. Lewis McGlade crossing the line after him. Ben Willis will be the final point scorer in 15th position. And just about missing out on points will be Adam Hodgkinson. Another driver who's had a pretty disappointing performance this weekend compared to what he is usually capable of, as Steinfide has a lock-up down into the final corner, possibly losing a bit of tyre life towards the end of the race, and the loss of front downforce won't be helping him. There is the glitchy Chris Shepherd. Now we're going to see what happened with Fournier and Butcher and Richards, as I believe Richards might have actually got past Fournier here on the outside. Indeed, as we head down into turn 11, he is going to keep that. So Fournier went for one position and lost another. Anyway, that was a very polite race compared to race 1. A lot cleaner than race 1 was, and I'm very pleased for that. But I don't want to put the commentator's curse on for race 3. Stay with us because there's another race coming up. So, race 3, and it wouldn't be an ITC weekend without a customary spin on the formation lap. There is Elise Skinner demonstrating very politely for us how it's done towards the back of the field. Philip Morby will start on pole for this next race, followed by David Feidock, Matt Klipp, Tobias Olsen, James Wilson, Adam Taylor, Jeffrey Fournier, Matt Richards, Chris Butcher, Niels Brugman, David Franchik, Chris Shepherd, Rudy Van Buren, Lewis McGlade, Ben Willis, Adam Hodgkinson, Matt Allington, Stein Fidder, Eric Stanford, Fabian Ruder, Tristan Potters, and Elise Skinner. So we've lost a few cars from the order, I'm afraid, but it's still going to be a good race. Of course, this is the reverse grid race of the weekend. The number picked was 13, which means the top 13 cars have been reversed for this grid, which means that 13th place in last race, Philip Morby is going to start from pole, and first place in last race, Rudy Van Buren is going to start 13th. Anyway, Philip Morby lines up in first position alongside David Feidock. And here you see Elise Skinner making his way to the grid. Possibly stalled the car, actually, as he makes his way into his grid box. Nope, I think he was just trying to be irritating. Anyway, here we go as the green flag rises. And the lights go out. Here we go. It's actually a better start, I believe, from David Feidock than Philip Morby, but Morby just gets the run because of the rear wheel drive, as does Tobias Olsen, who forces his way through on the inside. Feidock goes all four wheels over the off the ground through turn 2, and I believe that it's going to be Philip Morby leading down into turn 4 in this opening lap of the race from Tobias Olsen, David Feidock and Matt Klipp making his way through the order. So it looks as if everyone has made their way through the first 3 corners safely for the first time this Thursday, and thank goodness for that, as Matt Richards, or Tobias Olsen rather, gets in the slipstream of Philip Morby. He's going to go to the inside. It's BMW versus BMW on the first lap here of race 3. GPVWC ITC at Adelaide, and he's going to get it. Morby touches the wall slightly, but Tobias Olsen leads the race in an absolutely daring slipstream move to the inside of turn 8, as you see Rudy Van Buren making a move as well. There is Elise Skinner at the back of the field. But my goodness, what a move that was at the front, with Tobias Olsen using the slipstream to get alongside Morby and then not giving up as they headed down into turn 8. Absolutely forced the issue, as there is Adam Taylor getting past, is that James Wilson or Lewis McGlade? One of the Aurora Motorsport cars for 5th. Bit of a dive to the inside, locked up slightly, but he got the move done. We're on board with that Aurora Motorsport car now, as he made his way through. Slight contact, but that's to be expected in touring cars. This is the move for the lead now, so this is Tobias Olsen, who, as I said, pulls out of the slipstream, gets alongside Philip Morby, knows that if he gets alongside enough, Morby's going to have to be the one that backs off, and somehow they do both keep it out of the wall. So very respectful driving from both of them. You don't expect to move like that at turn 8. That is an absolutely brilliant move from Tobias Olsson, and very mature from Philip Morby to lift off the throttle as well. He could have just driven them both into the wall there, but didn't. Anyways, we head down into turn 4 for the second time of asking in this race. It was James Wilson who got past in 5th, so Wilson is now down into 6th position. There is Adam Hodgkinson trying to get past Eric Stanford, and I believe that Niels Brugman has had some kind of incident at the start, because Brugman is now running in 20th position, and I think we're going to see it now as he's side by side with Geoffrey Fournier, and Fournier's turned into him. Fournier just turns straight into Niels Brugman as they head down into turn 7. We're going to see it on board with Niels Brugman now. He just gets collected. He just gets collected as Fournier goes up onto 2 wheels. We're going to see it on board with Fournier now. Possibly got caught out by the curb a bit. He did indeed, but he just keeps coming across. It's like he kept turning, in fact. And in fact, I believe from that replay you can see that he did keep turning. So I'm afraid that is quite poor from Geoffrey Fournier there. And I'm not sure what the stewards are going to judge from it. Now we're seeing a collection of incidents from Elise Skinner. He's had a spin down at the penultimate corner and then an accident down at turn 2. Skinner, of course, running the last of the runners so far in this race, and let's hope he can stay in this race, because the more finishes the merrier. But Skinner unfortunately having a couple of incidents now. To the inside of Eric Stanford pops Adam Hodgkinson, but he doesn't quite pull a move there, although Stanford has had a bad exit to the corner, running out and over the curbs, getting up onto 2 wheels, and Hodgkinson might be able to challenge here. Talking of challenging here, look at Chris Butcher to the inside of Wilson. It's not going to work as off goes Fidok. So Fidok, who was running in 3rd position in this race, has had an off, and he is in the barrier down at turn 9, and he's going to have to wait for the entire field to go through here. Oh dear, that's very bad news for David Fidok, who does get the car going again. And I think Elise Skinner has had another incident further down. He has indeed. He's had a roll. That's the 13th roll of the weekend, I think. His suspension was already damaged from the turn 2 incident coming down into turn 7 here. Just misjudged the corner and rolled it off the curb. He's also lost his front bumper in that. Here you see a move from... Is that... Morby's actually touched the wall there, and that's what happened to Fidok, who gets very... He, I think, was distracted by Morby touching the wall and getting all squirrely going into and out of turn 8, and then loses it and goes into the wall at turn 8 himself, and then misjudges the turn in at turn 9 as well, possibly as a result of the suspension damage. Maybe misjudged it. Actually got into the back of Philip Morby through turn 8 there, as Morby was hampered by touching the wall himself. And then Franchik has just misjudged the next corner, got up onto the inside curb, done well not to roll it, but he's gone into the wall on the outside. And unfortunately Fidok rather has dropped right down the order. Here is Rudy Van Buren's move on that clip. This is for 4th position, which will soon become 3rd now that Fidok's had his accident. Taylor rather, not Van Buren. Van Buren is further behind, started further behind. And Adam Taylor is up to 3rd position. Here we see it on board from Matt Clip. And that is almost a replay of the move on lap 1 for the lead of the race there from Adam Taylor. So very good move there. Good move from Adam Taylor, as we see Tobias Olsson getting away from the rest of the field here in the car with McCready written on the window. Interestingly, McCready, of course, Stefan McCready has driven a few races in that car this year, the majority, I believe, of the races so far this year. But don't be confused by that. It is indeed Tobias Olsson behind the wheel of that car. Also, Elise Skinner's car, I believe, says Williams, as in Ed Williams, on the window. But it is Elise Skinner behind the wheel of that car. Here you see James Wilson going to the inside of Matt Clip. Clip's going to go into the wall, and he touches Chris Butcher as well. And also off in the background is that Matt Richards. That's Matt Richards. So Matt Richards, who is one of the main title protagonists, has gone into the wall, and he's going to have to wait for the entire field to go through. So that's drama in the championship. He's had a dismal weekend. Who are we on board with here? This will be Matt Clip, who just gets a tag from James Wilson and then goes into the wall on the outside and goes into Chris Butcher as well. Now this will be James Wilson, who you could say was partially responsible for that, as he sort of drove Clip to the outside. Now this is Richards, who just misjudged the distance between him and Chris Butcher. You can see him in the mirror there. Bang! Richards went around and into the wall, and Butcher actually got another whack there from Matt Clip. So Butcher involved in both incidents there. As we head down towards turn 8 for another time of asking. That is Jeffrey Fournier in the slipstream of Matt Clip now. The BMW very stereotypically straight or fast out of corners due to the rear-wheel drive nature of it. And also we have Van Buren and Fidok side by side, but Shepard, or Fournier rather, actually clips Clip. Slight contact with McGlade as well, and big contact with McGlade. And Clip has gone into the barrier there. Oh, big slide from Matt Allington. Very well to avoid that. Here we see it as Clip breaks for the corner, and the gap just closes really on Lewis McGlade here. I don't really think that either driver is. I mean, if you're going to put fault on anyone there, I suppose Matt Clip did move over a bit, but then again, the other driver wasn't exactly alongside him. Although you can't move over and expect a car on your outside or inside to just disappear. So judge whatever you want to here. As, oh dear, Elise Skinner has had another accident. Again, just a case of clipping the wall on the inside of turn 8, bouncing into the outside, and that's done no end. Oh my word, that's very, very bad suspension damage. And we're going to see it later on in the lap as well. He is not turning that. That is the most severe understeer I've ever seen in an ITC car. On it turns too sharply when he doesn't want it to, and now he's going into the opposite wall. Oh dear. So Elise Skinner struggling to get the car back to the pits. That is completely unpredictable. The wheel, I don't think there's any wheel on that car that's pointing the same direction as it was intended to point. And well done to Elise Skinner for actually getting it back to the pits, because that is astonishingly bad. I've never seen suspension damage like that before. My goodness. There is the leader, Tobias Olsen. He has built out a brilliant lead so far. Oh, contact in the background. That would be one of the, or in fact I think it was both of the purple BMWs clipping the wall in the background. There is Fidok and, contact! Fidok has tipped Butcher into a spin. Fidok and Butcher make contact. Butcher is around in the middle of the track. He might have to wait for the majority of the field to go through as well. Ooh, Fabian Ruda getting up onto two wheels. Here we see a replay of it. This is from on board Chris Butcher. Actually gets a tag from Fidok on the exit of turn 4. Now into turn 5, he's going to turn in and just get clobbered. To be honest, Butcher was completely not to blame there. Completely the innocent party. Here we see it from on board David Fidok, who's going to clip him once. Now, there. And he's going to clip him again into turn 5. That was never on. He was never going to get through there. To be honest, that was just Fidok being very overly optimistic, rather. And I'm afraid Chris Butcher has paid the price. Someone who was also slightly involved in the contact, but has really gained from this, has been Rudy Van Buren here, who has made his way up to 3rd. Is it 3rd or is it 4th? It's somewhere around there. Again, I don't have a live timing sheet in front of me because this isn't live. But Rudy Van Buren makes his way near the front of the order. It'll be 4th position now because Morby is still 2nd. So yeah, it'll be 4th position for Rudy Van Buren, just behind his teammate in 3rd. Now watch Niels Brigman attacking Matt Allington, and in fact Clip attacking Ben Willis as well, as Allington gets right up onto two wheels, and Brigman is going to try and go around the outside of him down towards turn 11. not quite there. It's a rare place to pull an overtaking move due to the kink before it. As Stanford goes off, keeps it out of the wall though, and Steinfidder goes into his rear. So Fidder slightly misjudging the speed of Eric Stanford's car. As Stanford runs right over the curb and actually has a big kick of oversteer there. And now he's going to go up onto two wheels again as well. So a bit of a messy sector there from Eric Stanford. We're going to see a replay of that as he just gets up onto the curb, which unsettles the car and forces it off the road down into turn 11. Then he just gets clipped from the rear by Steinfidder, who misjudges the speed differential. Runs over the curb on the inside, has a big twitch, does well to save it, and then goes up onto two wheels through the final corner. So bit of a messy sector. We're going to see it from on board Steinfidder here. Yeah, he's just going to misjudge that. So Fidder does get the place though. Oh no, he doesn't. Never mind. What am I saying? He's still behind her. Oh, Stanford Superman! Wow, Stanford goes for an absolute launch through turn 2. Hits the wall. Hits the wall on the inside of turn 1. Actually, the tyre stack on the inside that bounces him into the curb, the sausage curb rather, on the outside of turn 2, which forces him into the wall. We've seen this situation quite a few times throughout the weekend. Elise Skinner has had an accident at turn 8, as we saw him doing earlier on in the race. This is going to be another one of the same kind, I fear. Is it going to start before that, in fact? Indeed it is! Oh, did well to stop that from rolling, didn't he? Turning out of the roll through turn 9. Does clip the wall slightly, but just got two wheels up onto the curb, and that forced the car to start handling all weirdly up onto two wheels. But that doesn't explain what happened at turn 8, although this will. Yeah, he's just going to clip the inside wall again. Huge impact into the outside wall. Goes for many, many spins. Does well to keep it out of the way of the traffic behind. I say that. Actually, someone got very close to him behind there. Yeah, there you see it. Just turned in too sharply, as we've seen plenty of times so far this weekend. Two people doing it in the same lap in race 1. And I'm afraid that'll be even more severe suspension damage for Elise Skinner, who obviously had some level of suspension damage repair after his pit stop, as you see the two teammates Hodgkinson and Brugman swapping, or almost swapping places down into turn 9 in an attempt to get past Allington. And indeed, Brugman is actually going to stick his nose to the inside of Allington in a very unusual place. You wouldn't expect him to try and force a move down into that kink there. There's a bit of a fast sweeping S in the final sector of the lap, and you don't normally see people trying to go side by side through there, but Brugman did on that lap. Didn't really pay him though. As more lag. We saw that earlier on, and it just really suddenly makes you panic, doesn't it? It makes you think that everyone's just flying off the road. Luckily that wasn't the case, but now they are! Now they're flying off the road, almost so close! As Brugman is going to force his way through past Matt Allington. That could have been really, really dangerous there. As Brugman went right up onto two wheels. They looked like they were both going to go into the outside wall, and Allington's going to give him a bit of shove, like I didn't appreciate that. And they're going to go 3 wide in a bit of an Allington sandwich, heading down towards turn 8. They're not going to pull a move here, because 8 is, as I said, a very dangerous corner of the track, but down into turn 9 possibly, as Clip and Willis fight. No, and in fact Allison gets Adam Hodgkinson under his rear, as we get a bit more laggy footage there. I can only apologise about that. That might well be my connection. And there, slight contact there from Matt Clip going into the rear of Ben Willis. This is the battle over 10th position, as Adam Hodgkinson gets right up onto two wheels at the back of the shot there. That was, save that as your screenshot. As your screensaver, rather. Matt Clip runs over the curb a bit, all 4 wheels up in the air. Took a brief look to the inside of his opponent down into turn 1. Fabian really gets a bit of a slide on through turn 2. There is Steinfidder, And Potters and Franchik are side by side here. So Franchik to the outside of Tristan Potters, and Franchik is going to keep that. That's 18th position here. What's happened to Eric Stanford? Oh, he's going straight on. Oh, my word. Oh, that's a big one. Now, that's a very weird one, because you can see here he just doesn't bother to turn in. It doesn't... I don't entirely know what happened either. He didn't lift off either, so it looks to me like he just gave up. Now, there are much better ways of giving up there, ways that won't cause a brief yellow flag. I know there wasn't anyone directly behind him, but that's a bit unnecessary, you must say, as Brugman goes to the inside of Matt Clip and gets past him. So Clip was attacking Ben Willis a few minutes ago. Now he's being passed by Niels Brugman for, is it 9th place? I think it's 9th place. There is Philip Morby in 2nd place, being caught rapidly by Adam Taylor in 3rd. I should also apologise for earlier when I said that Rudy... Oh, never mind. He's forcing his way to the inside. The slight contact. Morby keeps the car in a straight line, though. I should apologise for earlier when I said that Rudy Van Buren was running 4th. He isn't. He's running 5th. Has been since he moved into 5th. But certainly won't want to stay there for long. James Wilson is the car ahead of him. Ahead of him is his teammate Adam Taylor. Now we're heading down into turn 8 again. We've seen plenty of incidents so far here this weekend, but these three make it through all right. Wilson's going to try and use the slingshot effect, but to no avail there. Fournier and Franchik just went side by side slightly, or well, not quite side by side, but close to being side by side. Just after turn 8. More glitchy cars in the background as Willis is having to defend from Brugman. He's going to try and go around the outside. Matt Clip might take advantage and try to go past, or back past Niels Brugman here, as you see 2 cars side by side in the background. That's the recovering Matt Richards getting past Matt Allington. Matt passing Matt. Here is Stein Fidder, and he's just lost his bump. How did this happen? It's going to be another roll into the wall. That's the 14th roll of the weekend, I think, if I've been counting correctly. Just, again, clip the inside curve, as we've seen plenty of times this weekend. He's gone into the awkwardly sticking out wall on the outside, and that's going to be very painful. Luckily, of course, no damage done to the actual human, because, of course, this is sim racing, so... Oh, as Adam Taylor tried to go to the outside of Philip Morby for 2nd. It didn't work. He's been dipped into the wall on the outside. No contact from anyone. Oh, gosh. Just as I said, there's more contact. Chris Shepherd had a brief look at Rudy Van Buren and got escorted to the outside wall himself. So it's all kicking off here. We're going to see it on board with Adam Taylor, who tried to go to the outside of Morby, misjudged it, went into the wall on the outside, lost plenty of positions. He's down in... 6th position now. Here we see it on board with James Wilson, and Wilson really gained advantage of that to move up into 3rd position. So Wilson now on track for a podium. This is Rudy Van Buren's point of view, our championship leader, and Van Buren moved up to 4th position and then had his coming together with Chris Shepherd. And Chris Shepherd, we're going to see his view. He was actually a long way behind this group before this incident happened, so he's really gained out of this as well, providing he hasn't picked up any suspension damage for his little dink with the wall on the outside. Actually, I believe it is hanging slightly more to the right than it was before, so possibly having to readjust his driving style slightly as a result of that. He's actually got his lights on, which he's not supposed to have on, so hopefully someone alerts him to that quickly before he picks up a penalty for it, as James Wilson goes for 2nd. Wilson goes for 2nd to the inside, but he's going to do exactly what we saw Adam Taylor doing in race 1. He's just missed his braking, banks over the curb, and he has now slotted down into, is it 6th position or 5th position? Someplace like that. There you see Philip Morby. Morby's view as Wilson just goes shooting straight ahead of him, and Wilson was not going to get that stopped in a month of Sundays. Well, Thursdays rather, because we hold these races on a Thursday. And he has indeed dropped back to 6th position. Here is Rudy Van Buren, who has now moved up onto the podium. So Van Buren is on course for another podium, and this is very, very good in terms of his championship challenge. as there you see another car getting past Wilson as well. That would have been Adam Taylor, who of course did pretty much exactly the same thing at turn 4 this lap. Now if it finishes like this, and in fact even if Rudy Van Buren doesn't finish this race, I believe he can probably still claim, or almost definitely still claim, the title at Portland mathematically. So definitely tune in next round, because next round could well decide the championship, especially with results like this. Van Buren has, providing he finishes in this position, he will have finished ahead of his teammate, or not teammate but rival, in all 3 races so far this Thursday. Or not so far this Thursday, because these are the only 3 races this Thursday, but this Thursday in terms of the GPVWC ITC. But this is looking very, very good for Rudy Van Buren in terms of the championship challenge. This race, I must say, this race specifically, is looking very, very good for Tobias Olsson, who has led ever since turn 8 on the first lap and has absolutely flown into the distance of this race. Now watch Rudy Van Buren going for second to the inside of Philip Morby. He's going to do his move that he pulled for the lead of race 1, and it's going to be an absolute textbook copy of it. Through he goes. So Rudy Van Buren up into second position in this race, and it might well be a triple podium here for Rudy Van Buren. And if something happens to Tobias Olsson, let's hope very much so that it doesn't, then it could well be a triple win for Rudy Van Buren. If you can finish second, you can win. That's what I always say, because it only takes a slight error from the leader and it all changes. Here you see it again on board with Tobias Olsson, who did very well to actually stay in second position up until now. Got the reverse grid pole for finishing 13th, remember, so he's fighting with guys who are a lot more experienced than him. As Adam Taylor goes to the inside of Chris Shepherd, slight contact. They're going to be side by side heading down into turn 1, and Taylor's going to slot in even before the corner, but Shepherd's going to think about going back at it. Thinks better of it though, and I've no doubt that wouldn't have worked anyway. As James Wilson gets this switch back out of turn 3, but he's going to have the wrong side of the track down into turn 3, and Jeffrey Fournier might well take advantage of this as well, as he heads to the outside of turn 5. And this is going to keep Constantinoing back, because David Franchik is now alongside him. It was amazing what a kind of accordion effect we had. It was like it was like if you set off clockwork. I mean, one car went side by side with another here, then another went side by side with another, and then it was another on another and another on another, and it kept going like that. It was quite humorous to see, actually, but a great bit of racing from all involved. Very forceful there from Adam Taylor, making slight contact with Chris Shepherd, or rather, as I said, forceful contact with Chris Shepherd as he makes his way up into 4th position. And now he gets right into the slipstream of Philip Morby. So Adam Taylor goes for a podium. He's going to try and get him before the corner. He's going to drive him right into the wall. Both of them make contact with it. Now watch Chris Shepherd behind. Will Shepherd be able to take advantage? He's going to the inside of both of them. My goodness, they've made contact again, and they're all going off. Off goes Philip Morby. Off goes Chris Shepherd. Off goes Adam Taylor. They're all off. 3 cars spun at turn 9, and they're 3 big ones as well in terms of the race. Here is Philip Morby, who just gets driven into the wall. I'm afraid that was not his fault at all. Taylor just overly optimistic there, and of course Morby was not going to give way. Now watch this, as Morby just gets clipped from the rear by James Wilson, and Morby would have felt like a pea in a pan there. Now watch it from on board Adam Taylor as he goes for a move that was realistically never going to work. It's worked a few times in this race, but not from that far back and not in that circumstance. And now he's going to lock wheels with Chris Shepherd, and to be honest, I think Shepherd was probably too forceful in that situation. So Shepherd, seeing his advantage when his 2 rivals up ahead of him collided, trying to go through on the inside of both of them here. Look at that tiny gap he slots it through, and this is all looking very good up until this point. But I'm afraid he possibly just releases a bit of the steering too soon. They lock wheels and go into the wall. Then again, once you do make slight contact and lock wheels, it's very, very difficult to untangle yourself, and often there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. There is James Wilson, who misjudges the distance between him and Philip Morby up ahead. This is what Geoffrey Fournier saw of it, as Fournier gets into the back of McGlade. But he is going to really benefit from that, and Fournier is up into 3rd position. Amazing. Now this will be Lewis McGlade, who's going to make his... Oh no, McGlade made his way through behind... Okay, so that would have been... Okay, I don't know who that was, but anyway, we're on board with David Franchik now. He's going to get involved in this as well. Into Adam Taylor. There was nothing he could have done about that. And yes, indeed, the onboard we just saw was on board with Lewis McGlade. It was James Wilson that got through ahead. So the order now is Olsen. It'll be Olsen, Van Buren, Shepherd, Wilson, and McGlade. So a very good day for the Aurora Motorsport drivers. 4th and 5th in this race. Now as we head down into turn 4, a couple of cars pulling out of the tow, just trying to break the toe of the car behind them, and possibly have a look at the car in front of them at the same time, and the chain is as close as that group. It's attack or be attacked in these situations, and each driver knows what they'd rather in that situation. There is Matt Allington. He's dropped a bit behind his teammate since last time we looked. He actually had a roll that we didn't pick up on camera, so that's the 15th roll of the weekend. As we see, is that Matt Richards and Matt Clips side by side further back? It is indeed. Richards is going to make up a position there, is he? Yeah, as we head down into turn 1. Whoa, Hodgkinson gets very, very airborne, clips the inside wall, and does manage to keep it in a straight line, but does lose plenty of places as well. 2 positions to be precise. Oh, he's going over! Hodgkinson saves one and then goes over on another down at turn 4 as he clips the inside curb. There's what happened at turn 2, and he goes into the outside wall there. Actually has quite bad suspension damage as we head down into turn 4. Might have been caused by the turn 2 collision. Clips the inside wall at turn 4. Probably doesn't quite do enough to try and save it, and that's the 16th upside down car we've seen. Only upside down briefly, of course, until the wall pitched him back up again. But yeah, cars just like to roll this weekend. That is the move for 5th position now, between Lewis McGlade getting attacked by David Franchik, although Franchik is going to have to stick behind him for now. Definitely had a decent move, decent go. He was side by side with Lewis McGlade, but unfortunately for him, couldn't quite. We're seeing a replay of it now. So watch the two. That's Shepherd and Wilson going defensive up ahead of him, and he sees his advantage, or sees his opportunity, and pops to the inside of Lewis McGlade, who just has the inside for the next 2 corners and gets him straight back again. We've seen that a few times this weekend. This Thursday, rather. It doesn't take place on a weekend. But anyway. Up towards turn 4 we go, and Wilson's going to have another little look at Chris Shepherd, trying to force Shepherd into Fournier, rather. I've been calling him Shepherd for a while, haven't I? Fournier, rather. Who locks up down into turn 4. Now, as we head through turn 7, we're approaching some backmarker traffic here. That's one of the Rowan GP cars who very nicely gets out of the way. You see the blue light flashing there. But anyway, on the final lap of the race, this is Tobias Olsen, our race leader, who has been dominant right from when he made that brilliant move on lap 1, and has led the race ever since then, and has not just led it, but has absolutely dominated it. Tobias Olsen exits the final corner to bring home an absolutely brilliant victory. One that no one, I believe, was expecting before this weekend. But across the line he goes. Tobias Olsen has won the race already. Here comes Rudy Van Buren, who is going to pick up a second place. So it's going to be a first, and a second. That's brilliant in terms of Van Buren's championship aspirations, and he could claim it next round at Portland. Very, very likely. Third, just about, is going to be Jeffrey Fournier, who just about hangs on to it, followed by Wilson, McGlade and Franchik. Then it's going to be Philip Morby, who was running second for a long time until the instant. Then it's Shepherd, Brugman, Richards and Taylor. Now which of the Toyotas is this? That will be Ben Willis, followed by Matt Clipp. Steinfidder is going to bring home 2 points in 14th, despite the fact he's missing a front bumper. Then again, the IDOS Fords very rarely finish with their front bumpers. And across the line in 15th will go Matt Allington. 16th and just missing out on the points is Fabian Ruder. And 17th will be David Feidock, who had his incident earlier on in the race, very close to the start of it actually. Was running third when it happened, but got into the back of Morby, then into the wall on the inside of turn 8, then on the outside of turn 9. But he is going to recover for 17th, unfortunately outside of the points, so he didn't recover any points from this. He is going to be followed in by the last of the finishers, I believe, last of the finishers on the lead lap, who will be Tristan Potters in the other Rowan GP car. And Potters crosses the line now, and we did have a couple of retirements. Hodgkinson, Stanford, Butcher and Skinner unfortunately didn't bring it home. Anyway, thank you for watching this Thursday of racing with the GPVWC ITC at the brilliant Adelaide Street Circuit. It's been a bit of a mad one, 16 rolls that I counted, although it has been a very entertaining one as well. Plenty of battling all the way throughout the order, plenty of drama, and a championship that could be claimed next round. Of course, it was kept open with this round, but next round it could well be claimed. So join us then, where you might well see a championship finale, or rather a championship deciding round. Of course, there will be more rounds after that, but you get the picture. We'll be at Portland next in the United States, and I will hopefully see you then. Goodbye!